Hi everyone, I know I've already done a video on nude ombre, but today I want to do a video using some trickier colours. So I'm going to do a red ombre, a black ombre, and I'm also going to do a glitter ombre. And again, I'm just going to recap over your average pink and white. So with any ombre, you just want to start with a clear base so you've got a smooth nail to work on. I'm just going to start with the nude ombre, which I think is the easiest out of all of the colours to blend. It's just a basic white and a basic nude colour. So I'm using ombre white, placing that bead in the centre and then pulling that bead down. I'm also blending that bead slightly back up, just so that when I put the nude on I'll have a nicer looking blend. And I go back into my ombre white and take beads whenever I feel like I need some more. Just following those same steps, blending down and then blending back up. The way I work is in small sections with small beads. So use as many beads as you like until you get the nail looking how you want it to look. Once you've got your white down, you just want to wait for it to dry slightly before you go in with your nude. I'm taking a little bead of ballet shoes, just putting that right below the cuticle and pushing up. I'm leaving a bit of space so I don't place that bead right onto the cuticle. I want enough gap where I can push the bead up towards. I'm just taking my brush and pulling that bead down across the nail. You're aiming for your brush to be wet enough to be able to pick up a nice bead, but not too wet where the bead will just run across your nail. And as you would with any ombre, you just want to cap your nail with clear. So now I'm just moving on to glitter ombre. So there's two different ways you can do this. You can do with loose glitter and clear powder, or you can just use a pre-mixed acrylic like I'm using here. I take small beads and work in little sections with my glitter powders. You want to work slightly wetter with your glitter acrylics and in small beads. Just use the tip of your brush to push that glitter around the nail. It's the same method as your last ombre. You start in the middle and blend down, and then use the tip just to slightly blend that glitter up towards the cuticle. And here on my brush you can see the size of the bead I'm using. If you feel your bead underneath your brush start to become a bit dry, just wipe your brush off, dip back into your monomer and start pushing that bead around again. This time before I go in with ballet shoes, I'm just going to put some clear on top of that glitter so that when I do go in with the nude, the glitter won't move around as it's going to be underneath that clear layer. Now that clear layer is dried, I'm just going in with a small bead just above where that glitter ends and then blending down. Because we did put that clear on, the nail's not going to be messy now, and the nude will just blend smoothly over the top. You could now leave your nail like this, or you can go back in with a little bit of glitter on the tip of the nail and just blend up. It's completely up to you, it's just whatever you prefer. once you're happy with how your glitter ombre looks, just cap it in clear. So when you move on to ombre in more pigmented colours like red, I think this is when it starts to get a bit more difficult. I follow the same steps as the last two ombres, but for my base colour I start really thin. So as you can see, I'm painting that red on really lightly. I work in thinner layers and a little bit wetter than last time. So I just build that colour up and I make sure that the middle section of the nail is blended out and really thin. So as I'm building up the colour, I'm aiming for most of the pigment to be towards the tip of the nail, because we're not really going to see the red that's in the middle section of the nail, as the nude is going to cover that area. So I don't want to aim to put all my beads towards the middle section of the nail, because then I'm going to make it harder for myself to blend on top of. And when you're using a bright colour like red, you want to keep wiping your brush after every bead, just to get the pigment out of your brush. As you can see here, how much I've wiped off. If you're not cleaning your brush, that's going to be in your monomer. You want to keep your brush clean so you don't transfer that pigment into the nude that you're going to ombre on top. Now at this point, I like to add a little layer of clear on top of that red, so that when I do go in with ballet shoes, the colours won't mix to make a pinky colour. So when it comes to ombreing a red with a nude powder, you want to go for a powder that is pigmented enough to cover that red and make it look like a really seamless blend. You won't want to go for a milky colour or like a sheer colour, as you're going to see the harsh line where that red stops in the middle. So that's why whenever I do an ombre with a really dark or a really bright colour, I use ballet shoes, as I know it's pigmented enough to ombre nicely for me. I find it's always easier if I get my blend first with a bead in the middle, and then once I'm happy with how the blend looks on the nail, I then go in with the cuticle bead and blend over the whole nail. And I always find when I finish with my clear layer on top, it does help to melt those two colours together. And then finally I'm going to show you how I ombre black, which I think is the trickiest colour to blend. I'm basically doing the same as what I did with the red ombre, so working really thin and wetter than I usually would, blending the bead down and then pushing that bead back up. With any ombre you do, no matter what colour, whether it's a pastel or whether it's a dark, you don't want to try and build up structure with your colours. They're not made to build structure, they're just there for the colour. So you want to build your structure with your clear layer at the end. You can see I'm using the tip of my brush to move that colour around and paint it on the nail. And I don't want a harsh line where my nude's got to blend over, so I'm just pulling that colour up slightly. And then, like what I did with the red ombre, I'm just putting a thin layer of clear so that when I put the nude on top, the bead won't go cloudy or grey. So if you are watching this video and you are just starting out in nails and you're struggling with ombre, I wouldn't recommend starting with ombre in a black or a red or a navy blue, you know, colours like that are darker and have a lot more pigment to them. I'd recommend you start with ombre in your nude and your white first, and when you feel like you've got the hang of that, keep practicing with other colours, see how you get on, see how they all work for you. And as you start to ombre and get the hang of it a bit more, you'll pick up your own methods that you feel work best for you. So it's all about just making sure that that nude blends with the colour you're blending it with. It doesn't matter how you get there, as long as the nail looks nice at the end and there's a nice clean blend.